Hi, hello and welcome back. Welcome back to another Onkruid video. The second one I record today. I'm really going on a rampage right now. I want to get as much videos in before I leave for vacation. That 100 subscriber milestone is really just giving me the energy and the drive to record even more than normally. And today's video is about another interesting article I found on Mashable. I found it myself this time. No Colin Wright to be thanked in this video. I was just looking around for interesting articles and I stumbled upon this read. It's very recent. It's from last week and its main topic is the Holocaust, which is of course a very serious topic. So if this video contains a bit less jokes or funny meme clips, you know why. Just out of respect for the atrocities that were committed by the German powerhouse during the Second World War. One of the most well-known phenomenons in that Second World War are of course the concentration camps, where they trapped millions of Jews, gypsies, other kind of inferior races or subgroups of people, and they either made them work to death or they just killed them if they weren't suitable for working. We all know about, or we should all know about, the gas chambers, about the mass graves, the mass executions, the atrocious living and working conditions. Some of you might have seen, for example, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which is apparently not such a historically accurate representation, and a lot of people really dislike that movie, but I feel like that just getting some sort of introduction through all the things that happened there and seeing it from a child's perspective can actually kind of make you realize in some way, if you don't really think through about everything that happened there in Germany and the surrounding countries, if you just don't take the time to logically and from an adult perspective think about it, it's hard to really comprehend and grasp what actually happened there. So I personally don't dislike the movie. Either way, what the article is about. In those concentration camps, it was just mass chaos all the time, of course. I mean, it's just such a living condition where there's no time for structure or trying to document things correctly, probably from both sides. So the good guys weren't able to document a lot because of course they were trapped and stuff, but I also feel like the Germans were sometimes so caught up with all the other things they had to worry about that having all the documentation in order was not something that was so easy. This of course led to a bunch of pictures and stuff, well, being taken, but nothing being documented with those pictures of what they actually show. So we see a lot of survivors or possibly a lot of victims on the photos, but we have no actual idea who the hell we are looking at. And that's where Daniel Patt comes in, a 40-year-old software engineer working for Google in New York. In his free time, he developed the From Numbers to Names algorithm, a piece of AI that transforms the numbers. If you don't know, a bunch of the concentration camp prisoners, they all got a number on their arm. I guess that's where the names come from, right? Kind of humanizing those people again, making them human again, giving them an identity again. And he developed an algorithm to do so. He came up with the idea in 2016 when he was walking through a museum in Poland about the history of the Polish Jews. And he just couldn't fathom that possibly some people around him were kind of family members of survivors or of victims, and that those family members possibly didn't even know they were looking at their own family. Now, as we all know, AI is all about analyzing vast heaps of data, just expensive maps full of data points, and in this case it's pictures from the Holocaust times. The algorithm was provided these pictures by kind of an association, a documentation, a history documentation organization surrounding the Holocaust, and it's of course not perfect. I think something like this, an endeavor like this, which he just conducted in his free time with his own resources, by the way, it's not something Google funded or anything, but I think something like that is never going to be completely perfect. But what the algorithm does do is it looks at a bunch of the pictures and it provides the 10 best possible matches. And that's why the creator of the algorithm also states that people can just use it freely if they want. They upload a photo from that time period and they will just get those results. It's up to them to decide whether they think it's actually the person they are looking for or not. So, I mean, the algorithm is of course not great. It's not great at what it does, but I think it is a very important step, an important step towards using modern technologies that were not present at the time in the past and using those technologies now to kind of backtrack in history, right? And to clear up a bunch of what has happened in the past, which maybe was covered up because we were not advanced enough back then to really be on top of things in terms of documentation and keeping track of everything that's happening. That is of course a process that we humans have been doing for the past 100 years or probably even more. For example, also in the fields of archaeology and stuff, we are of course using technology to reconstruct ruins of castles and stuff like that. But I think things like this that also capture the atrocities and things that maybe are better not looked into all that thoroughly, I think now bringing them to attention and using technology here again to kind of in some way, shape or form possibly help the people that are still existing, that were related to people that suffered during the Holocaust, I think that's a beautiful endeavor. And I think that possibly if you have like a picture lying around from what you believe to be one of your ancestors, as to say, that was suffering in one of those Holocaust encampments, possibly Auschwitz, something like that, and you upload that photo into the algorithm, and in those 10 names you actually see the name of, for example, your great-grandfather, I think that can be just beautiful in some weird way, you know? Nothing about those pictures are gonna be beautiful when you remember the broader context they are in, but just that small piece of confirmation that you have, like, yeah, I'm looking at this guy, this was my great-grandfather. I heard stories about how strong he is, I always had this picture, but now I can kind of be sure, like, this is the man I can look up to, this can be my idol. He struggled and he survived, possibly, so that I could have this life. And having that physical copy of that picture, having that actual proof that you can hold in your hand, I think that is just magical. That can really help you cope with all the things that happen to your family. Now, the creator, Mr. Patt, is not done yet. He is currently working on getting 700,000 more pictures to feed into his algorithm so that it can learn more of the patterns. And other than the goal of helping family members that still exist to this day, his other main goal was to kind of help contribute to Holocaust education programs and to help people study that time period, maybe make new connections, maybe make new links in their own family trees or in important family trees. And just a beautiful way of ending off this article, and also him ending off his description of why he did it. It's kind of like the time is ticking. We are developing this over the course of evenings and weekends, so in his free time. And he says the time is ticking because, well, the last survivors, if there even are any still left, they are probably about to pass, sadly, just because of old age. So what he wants to do is facilitate the making of connections now that the making of those connections is still possible. If that doesn't just hit you right in the chest, then I don't think you're really human. I think it's a beautiful cause. I talked about AI in healthcare in the past on this channel, and I feel like that is of course a very prominent way of using this that we're gonna see more and more, and it's gonna help out a lot of people. But I think projects like this are equally as important. While AI in healthcare is of course to make people feel better physically and stuff, I think things like this can induce mental healing. I think in the future, when you can just show any picture to your computer and he tells you, yeah, that is indeed your great-grandfather that you have on your stove there at home to kind of honor him, I think that can just imply a sense of rest in you. Like, all right, I got the right guy. This is the person I'm proud of. He made me who I am, and I want to make sure that I am honoring him in the right way. And just to get things clearer, to understand what happened, even in periods that were pretty dark and that are mostly left undiscovered or unrefined, just laying those connections. Seeing that, oh, this person was in Auschwitz and we know that his wife is also here in the women's camp. Telling the story of the survivors so that other people can hopefully learn a thing from them. And developing an entire algorithm just in your free time to contribute to that. I think we can all safely agree on the fact that this creator, this Mr. Patt right here, beautiful human being. Thanks a lot for watching or listening, and bye-bye.